Hi everyone, welcome back to another live community classroom with Michaels. We have our friend Edie Ekman with us today to learn the ins and outs of granny squares. My name is Renee L. from Yarn Inspirations, and I'll be helping with any questions you might have during today's class. Please feel free to drop your questions in the chat and we'll make sure that Edie answers them. While we're getting ready to kick things off, let us know where you're watching from. Over to you, Edie.
Okay, it's so great to see everybody. I see lots of tiny little faces, but I see Martha and Amy. I see a few I recognized here, and probably some more of you I've seen before too. I just can't see everybody because you're itty bitty, like all these people, tiny little people. So we're going to be talking about granny squares, and I'm going to assume that you are a beginner. However, I am not going to be able to teach all umpteen million of you in this class how to crochet from the beginning to finishing a granny square in the next hour. I'm sorry if that was your expectation, but let's manage those a little bit. I will go slowly, and you'll always be able to watch the recording again and stop and rewind. Do we say rewind anymore? I don't know if we say rewind, but you'll be able to stop and go back and watch it again. So if you aren't keeping up with me, that's perfectly fine. I don't expect everybody to be able to keep up, but I'll show you what you need to know to be successful with the granny square. So now that we have that out of the way, I just want to make sure you don't think, boy, I've never crocheted before, and an hour from now I'm going to have a granny square. It's probably going to take you a little longer than that, but I'll do my best to help you. Okay, let me switch my camera here. So there we go. Now you are looking at my hands. Yes. I'm going to start by talking about how to hold a hook. So if you are right-handed, you're going to hold the hook in your right hand. If you're left-handed, you're going to hold it in your left hand. So you hold the hook in your dominant hand, and you're either going to hold it like a pencil, it's called the pencil hold, or the knife grip, like you're cutting a steak, right? Either one is fine. You'll find the one that fits your comfort level the best. So you may want to try it both ways. You're going to hold the yarn in your non-dominant hand. So for me, that's my left hand. If you're left-handed, you're going to hold the yarn in your right hand. I'm going to be demonstrating right-handed because, hey, I'm right-handed. I can do it left-handed, but I also have some videos for crocheting left-handed. So if you need access to those, Renee will be sharing all those links in the chat, and you'll be able to look at those later. So I'm going to start by leaving a little bit of a tail here and making a slip knot. To make a slip knot, I'm just going to cross the yarn over. So here's my yarn tail, make a little loop. I'm going to reach into that loop and pull my working yarn through. So this yarn coming off this side, that's my working yarn. I've got a bunch of yarn over here. So let me do that again. I made a loop, and then I'm going to reach in and pull that working yarn through the loop. So I've made a knot, and I'm going to put my hook in there, and then just pull on the working end of the yarn to create a slip knot and snug it down. Now, because there's so many different ways you can hold the yarn, I'm just going to show you the way I do it, and you're going to have to experiment to see what's going to work for you. I hold the hook in a pencil grip, and I like to tension the yarn through my fingers like this, like up and down, in and out, whatever. Some people like to wrap it around their pinky finger. There are all different kinds of ways to hold the yarn. The main thing is I want you to have the yarn coming over your index finger. So whether you're doing this or whether you're doing this or whatever, I want it coming over your index finger from back to front. Excuse me. So I'm going to set up here and got my slip knot on my hook. I'm going to use my middle finger and my thumb to pinch the work that's coming off the hook. See how I can even let go. This is not the only way to do this, but it's the way that I have had the most success in teaching a bunch of people. I don't know how many people we have here, but it's a lot. And so this way of describing it is what usually works best. All right, so I'm holding the hook like a pencil. I've got the yarn tension through my fingers and coming over my index finger. And I'm using my middle finger and my thumb to hold that little knot right there. Now I can move my hook. Okay, so I'm going to start in what I call the neutral position. The hook is facing me. You see my hook here? It's facing me. I'm going to push back to create a yarn over. So now the yarn is over my hook from back to front. And I'm going to pull that loop that I just made, that yarn over, through the loop on my hook. To do that, I'm rotating my hook down. So now it's facing down. I'm going to pull that through. Don't worry, I'll do it again. There's my first chain. Excuse me. I'm pinching what's underneath my hook. I'm going to push back to create a yarn over, and then pull that loop, that yarn over, through the loop on my hook. When I pull it through, I'm rotating that head down a little bit. So push back, rotate, pull it through. And each time I get back to my neutral position, I want to make sure that I'm getting this loop on the fattest part of the hook. So if you notice, this hook has what we call the head of the hook. It has the throat of the hook. That's the little slot where the yarn slides into. And then you have the shaft, and you see how it's slanted up here, and then you get to this part that's the shaft, and that's where the size of the stitch is determined. So you want to make sure when you make that chain that you're making it all the way up here on the shaft. It's not way down here. It'll be too tight. So that's a chain. Now, my instructions for granny square tell me to chain 4. So let me start over so I can count those chains. There I have my slip knot. I'm going to start over. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 chains. You can see they look like V's there. And then I need to slip stitch in the 4th chain from the hook, or the first chain I made way back here. To slip stitch, I'm going to put my hook into that first stitch right here, yarn over, remember yarn over, and pull it through everything. And what I have done is I've created a ring. You see my finger sticking through there? I've created a little ring with those chains. And all my stitches for the first round are going to be going into the center of that ring. I'm not going to be trying to work into the chains. I'm just working into the ring. That's why I like to put my finger there, just to make sure it's big enough. Okay, so now we're really ready to get started on round 1. And I'm following the instructions. And these are really great step-by-step instructions. I'm sure Renee has probably put that pattern in the chat. I'm on page 2. Round 1, chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. That counts as my first double crochet. So we're pretending that's a double crochet. Then work 2 double crochets in the ring. A double crochet is yarn over. I'm going to put my hook right there into the center of the ring. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Now I have 3 loops on my hook. Then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over again, pull through 2. That is a double crochet, and I'm supposed to do 2 double crochets. So yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So there are my first 2 double crochets in the ring. Now my pattern has a bracket and it says chain 3, work 3 double crochets in ring twice. So I'm going to do that section 2 times, which is chain 3, 1, 2, 3, then work 3 double crochets in the ring. So I'm going to go yarn over, go in, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 1, 2, 3 double crochets. Then I'm going to do that again. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and work 3 double crochets in ring. 1, 2, 3. Now my ring's getting bigger. You see how my ring got bigger? But I'm going to have to scoot it around because I'm going to have to get some more stitches in there. I've done that twice. And then let's see, I need to do chain 3. And I'm going to need to do this one more time because I need to have four sets going around. I think the pattern says twice, but I think I was supposed to do that 3 times. Whoops. Start that one over. And then chain 3. So let's stop and take a look at what I have here. I have my beginning chain, which counts as a stitch, and 2 more double crochets. And then I have a corner space, 3 double crochets, a corner space, 3 double crochets, a corner space, and 3 double crochets. So I have 4 groups of double crochet and I have 4 corners. I'm going to join this last stitch in the join with a slip stitch right here in the top of my chain 3 to finish my 4th corner. So I know that you aren't going to be able to keep up with me. This is why we have it recorded, so you'll be able to follow along at your own pace after the class is available online, after the recording is available online. So here I have my 4 corners and my 4 sides, and I'm ready to start round 2. Round 2 tells me to slip stitch in the next 2 double crochets. That's because I want to get over to this corner. So I'm going to slip stitch in the next stitch, go under both loops of the next stitch, slip stitch, and slip stitch. So that gets me over here to this next corner. And then slip stitch in the chain 3 space. So I'm just going to put my hook right down in there and do another yarn over and pull it through everything. That's what a slip stitch is. Now I'm ready to start the round for good, which is chain 3. That's going to count as a double crochet. So we're going to pretend I just did a double crochet. And then I'm going to work 2 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets, all in this corner. So I'm working in the space itself. That's what's great about granny squares is you're always working in spaces. You don't have to dig into stitches very often. All right, that's my 2 double crochets, chain 3, and 3 double crochets in that corner. Oops. And then I'm going to work 3 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets in the next space. So I'm skipping all this. I'm working over here in the next space. 3 doubles, and I'm going to go faster than you want me to, I'm sure. 3, chain 3, and then 3 more doubles in that very same space. 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to do that whole business again in the next corner. 3 doubles, chain 3, 3 doubles. And then I'm going to stop and talk about what's going on so you can read my work and not just try to look at the pattern and figure out what's going on. I haven't finished the round yet, but you can see it's starting to take shape as a square. Here's what it's going to look like. Well, it's not going to look like this. It's not going to turn green. Okay. If I'm starting with blue, it's going to stay blue. It's not going to turn green. But so we did this first round that had the 4 groups of stitches and the 4 corners. And then we started a second round, and those corners, can you see that these 3 stitches and these 3 stitches formed a corner, and there's a space here. So I worked here, here. Then I jumped over here and worked in this corner space. And then I jumped over here and worked in this corner space. And now I have one more corner space to work in this round. And for this granny square, the way you make a corner space is 3 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets, all in the same space. That's for this particular pattern. So here I am at another corner, and I need to make myself a corner. So in this space, I'm going to put 1, 2, 3 double crochets. Then I need a chain space. So that's 1, 2, 3 chains. And then 3 double crochets in the same space. And then I finished my round. I'm ready to join with a slip stitch right here. So I'm going to stop right here and get a drink and let Renee ask me some questions, because she's been looking at the chat, before I move on to the third round, because I want to make sure that I have time to get all the rounds in, or at least one more round in, and then I can start over again. But this is what we're aiming for, and this is where we are so far. We've done 2 rounds. And like I say, I'm going to stop and get a drink.
Awesome. So for the most part, no direct technical questions. We are having a little bit of trouble keeping up, which is to be understood. We're all kind of learning together. We are trying to, get as much information into a class as we can so everyone can learn and get the most out of the experience. So Edie, are we going to finish this square, and then are we going to do another one perhaps?
Well, what I'd like to do is get through one more round of this square and then start over again. And I don't think everybody will be able to keep up with me, but just answer questions as I get to that particular point. If I get to the slip stitch and you say, show me that again or whatever, because I want to make sure that we have the whole thing on the recording so that it's
absolutely
there all the way through, and then we can go back. Okay, does that work?
That works, everyone. Please, we're learning together. It's going to be great.
Right. Okay. So here I am at the end of round 2. I've joined with that slip stitch, and you notice in the pattern at the end of round 2, it tells you what you have. So I'm reading right here. It tells me that I have 4 corners that are made up of 3DC, chain 3, 3DC. So it tells me that this group of 3DC, chain 3, 3DC is a corner, and I have 4 of them. So I double check and I say yes, That's what I have. Yay. It is a square. I've got 4 sides because man, oh man, can I tell you how many times I have done a granny square where I had 3 sides or 5 sides because I didn't pay attention in the beginning and I didn't stop and look. So you just want to stop and make sure that you are going to have 4 sides and 4 corners. Okay, round 3, I'm going to slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. So I'm going to go under both loops of that double crochet, yarn over and pull through. That was first slip stitch. Go in, yarn over, pull through. That's the second slip stitch. And then slip stitch in that chain 3 space. So I'm just going straight into the space and doing a slip stitch. There we go. Then look at the instructions. It tells me to chain 3 and work 2 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochets in this same corner. So there's 1, 2, and actually, if you think about it, that's 3 double crochets because remember that chain 3 counts as a stitch. So that's really 3 double crochets right there. I'm going to do 3 more doubles. Yarn over, do 3 more doubles. But now we have a little bit of something different happening because on the last round we had 4 corners, but now I have a space between my groups of 3. You see this space right here? I need to put 3 double crochets in that space right there. So I'm going to do a double crochet and I'm just going to stick my hook straight into that hole or space. Doesn't space sound nicer than hole? And I'm going to put 3 double crochets right there. Okay. All right. Then now I'm at a corner again. So I can do 3 doubles, chain 3, 3 doubles. And you can always work just step by step with the pattern. My goal is really to help you understand not only what the pattern's saying, but looking at your work and seeing what's actually happening. Because if you can understand what's happening right here and in the pattern, then it's so much easier to crochet when you don't have to be a slave to the pattern. All right. So if you can understand how this square is taking shape. Okay, there's my corner. Anybody want to guess what I have to do in this side right here, this side space? Same thing, I have to put 3 double crochets in that side space. And then here I am at a corner. Anybody want to yell out what I have to do? Oh, you can't yell out, can you? Renee, what am I going to do in the corner? You're the only one who can yell it out.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Oh no, you weren't paying attention, were you?
No, I'm watching the comments.
Okay, all right. In the corner, we're doing 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet.
Perfect. We'll memorize that for the next callback.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you're having to do too many things. Okay. All right, I'm just going to get around here. Here I am at a side space. I'm putting 3 doubles. Last corner gets 3 double, chain 3, 3 doubles. You're putting a corner and a corner. All right. And let's say the phone rings or something, or the doorbell rings, UPS man comes, whatever. I'm always excited when the UPS guy shows up. And I stop and I come back to it and I think, oh my gosh, where did I leave off? What is it that I need to do next? I didn't make a note. Well, I can just look at this and say, well, I've done my corner, my side, my corner, my side, my corner, my side, my corner. Looks like I just have one more group of 3 double crochets to put in right here. So I can put 1, 2, 3. And that's the last. I'll join with a slip stitch to the top of that beginning chain 3 to finish round 3. And I'm going to stop and admire my work. If I went on to do round 4, it would be the same deal. I would slip stitch to the corner and do the same thing. I'm going to have 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet in each corner space. But on this round, I would have 2 groups. You see where my fingers are coming out? I would have 3 double crochets in this one and 3 double crochets in this one. Okay. So that is the basic idea of this particular granny square. So before we start over with this granny square, I do want to say something about granny squares in general. There's the general idea of granny squares is you're working from the center out and you're doing groups of 3 double crochets. But some granny squares are going to have chain 2 corners and chain 1 sides, like there are variations on it. So we are following a very particular granny square pattern. You may have a different granny square pattern that uses some other variation, but they're all granny squares. Okay, so this is not the absolute only way to do a granny square. It's just we're doing this particular pattern. Okay, let me grab a drink again because I've been doing a lot of talking. We're going to start over and I'm going to start again with the chain and the slip stitch in the first round. And Renee, you can let me know if there are any questions I need to answer.
Sounds good. Just going through to see if there was anything else. Corner, okay, we'll cover that. Yeah, all good.
Okay, so one thing I didn't talk about, you want to, when it's time to finish your granny square, you're going to cut the yarn and fasten off, which means you're going to take that tail and pull it through the last stitch like that, and then weave in your ends. And obviously I didn't finish this one. There's another round to do, just one more round, but I'd like to start over. Okay. I'm going to start with that chain 4. So I'm going to make the slip knot and put that on my hook. And I'm holding the hook in my dominant hand and the yarn is coming over my index finger. Now, this looks very comfortable. It looks to you like I'm very comfortable doing this. This isn't actually the way I usually hold my yarn. It's the way I teach, but it's not the way I hold my yarn because I'm self-taught and I learned a funky way to do it. And you may notice in some of my videos that I start holding it the other way. The main thing is, this is the hardest part when you are learning to crochet, learning to control your yarn and your hook and getting that chain, like doing this is the hard part. Okay, so if you are new to crochet and you are struggling with the chain, well, yeah, you've never done it before and you are going to feel uncomfortable and you may need to just practice chaining for a bunch of times. And maybe you're not holding the hook the way, maybe you want to hold the hook this way, right? Maybe you're left-handed. Let's see if I can do this. Let's see, what does she tell people? There we go. Maybe you're left-handed and you need to be crocheting this way. Wow, are y'all impressed? I'm not very good at this. I'm very right-handed. Okay. Another thing that can help make you struggle is that different hooks, different people like different hooks. So I'm using a Susan Bates hook that's 5.5 millimeter with this yarn. You want to make sure of a couple of things. First of all, whatever yarn you're using needs to be a match for the size hook you're using. If your yarn is too big for your hook, okay, you're not going to be able to make the stitches. If your yarn is too little for your hook, you're going to get this wonky looking thing that's going to be really hard to stitch. So you want to check your yarn label and yarn size to make sure that it's an appropriate size. So this calls for, I can't quite read, it calls for 5.5 millimeters. So I am actually using the size hook that's recommended. That doesn't mean you have to use that size hook, but you want to use something within that range. So if you're struggling, make sure your hook and your yarn are compatible. Otherwise, it's not going to work and you're just going to cause yourself grief. Another thing is different hooks and different brands of hooks have different, they all have a head, they all have a throat, they all have a shaft, but they have different kinds of handles and they have different kinds of heads. And crocheters have really definite ideas about what hooks work best for them. Okay, there's certain brands of hooks that are more challenging. And one time I was for particular crocheters, that doesn't mean one hook is better than another. It just means that different people have different opinions of hooks and what works for them. Let me tell you a quick story. Let me switch the camera here. So one time I was teaching a class, I probably had 30 women in this class, and they were all just beginning crocheters, learning to crochet. They had yarn, they had hooks, and there were two women who were really, really struggling with getting the chain. They just couldn't do it. They were having so much trouble. One was using, I'm not going to name names, but one was using one brand of hook and another was using another brand that had different head shapes, right? The one was more rounded than the other. One head was more rounded than the other. And I said, ladies, do me a favor, switch hooks. Just borrow the other person's hooks. They both took off. They were using the wrong hook for them. So they agreed that it was the same size hook, but they just agreed that you know, they needed to switch hooks, and they went to town. So it was the hook that was causing them the problem. And that's a very individual thing. So I can't tell you one hook's better than another. You're just going to have to experiment and see what's going to work best for you. So sorry, I lost my camera here. Okay. So let me go back to where I had 4 chains. And I want to make that ring. So I'm going to slip stitch in that first chain I made way back here, go in, yarn over, and pull it through everything. And that has made that ring. I might even stick my finger in there so I can really, really find it. Okay. So now I'm going to chain 3. Can't do it with my finger in there. And that chain 3 is pretending to be a double crochet. So we're going to call it a double crochet. All right. Oops, sorry. All right. I'm going to do a double crochet into the ring. So yarn over, stick it right there in that hole, yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over, pull through 2, then yarn over and pull through 2. That was my first double crochet. Going to do that again. Yarn over, go into that ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. I have my chain 3, which is pretending to be a double crochet, and I have 2 more double crochets. Then I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, That's going to give me my first corner. Then I'm going to do 3 more double crochets in the ring. There's 1. There's 2. And 3. We need to do another corner. 1, 2, 3 chains. Then I need to do another group of 3 double crochets right into the ring. All of this stuff is just going right into that first ring. I need to do another corner. 1, 2, 3 chains. I want to show you what's happening. It looks like I've run out of space here. You see how I almost have a triangle? I don't have a square yet. But because I've been working into the ring, I can just scooch these stitches around and make space. You see how I just made space for that? So now I have room for 3 more double crochets. And then I'll end with a chain 3, which is a corner, and slip stitch in the top of that beginning chain 3. There's my 1, 2, 3. I'm going to slip stitch right there into the top of that chain 3. And there's my first round finished. To begin round 2, I slip stitch across. I'm going to slip stitch in the next stitch, going under both loops there. And then under both loops of this one. And then into the space itself. See how I'm just working, boom, right there into that space. Now I'm set up and ready to start my next corner. So chain 3. And then yarn over and do 2 double crochets. All right, Renee, are you paying attention? What goes in a corner? What makes up a corner?
Oh no, I forget. Does anyone in the chat know? What makes up a corner? Oh, Edie, you have a chain. Chantel says chain.
Yep, chain space. Yep. And
3 chain.
Yep. And in each corner space, I'm putting 3 doubles, chain 3, 3 doubles for this particular pattern. Yay.
Everyone got it. Thanks, guys.
Yay. Okay.
Thank you for helping because I forgot.
Yeah, because you were doing other things. All right.
I'm watching Netflix. It's fine. Thanks, everyone.
All right. I'm doing another 3 doubles, chain 3, and 3 more doubles. And all of these stitches, except for those slip stitches, all of the stitches go into chain spaces. So the awesome thing about granny squares is you're not having to like go into the stitch like this. You're just aiming for the hole, right? Aiming for the space there. And then same thing, 3 doubles, chain 3, 3 doubles. After you learn the pattern, you don't have to watch the picture. You don't have to look at the pattern anymore, and you can just do anything. That's why people love granny squares, because once you get that rhythm, you really get what's going on and you don't have to think about it. It gets very like a meditation almost. But there's so many things you can do in terms of changing colors. I mean, these are pretty boring granny squares. They're single colors. I can show you in a minute some like better colors. But hey, we're just learning, right?
That is perfect, because someone actually asked a little further back, if you were to use a different color for every round, where would you join the new color after slip stitching?
Okay,
So,
great question. I think in my video, I have a change of color in that, but I'll show you in just a sec. Let me finish this round and then we'll change color. Okay.
no worries. And I can
Right,
reshare
so,
that.
yeah, so here we go. I finished round 2 and I'm going to slip stitch right here in the top of that chain 3. And then to start the next round, I'm not going to do the next round. I just want to show you what happens. I would slip stitch in the next stitch. And then in the next stitch. And then in the chain space before doing my chain 3 and starting that round, working around. Okay. So, and I see Elaine saying I need a review of joining round 1 to 2. It's the same idea. Elaine, it's just you would join with a slip stitch in the top. See the chain 3 that started this round? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go in here. And then I have to slip stitch over to the corner to get started working my corner here. Okay. Now there's some other ways. There's some more refined ways to do corners and to change rounds to go from one to another. But because we're sticking right with this pattern, I don't want to confuse anybody. So we're going to go exactly the way this pattern says. If I want to change colors at this point, I would fasten off the blue. And oh my gosh, I only brought one color with me. So let me reach down here and see if I can find another color yarn real quick. Whoops.
No worries.
I wasn't planning to change color, so I don't even know what this yarn is. I'm sorry.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Usually I can tell you it's red heart color such and such, but I don't know what it is.
Many red heart colors, no worries.
Yeah, it's I'm sure red heart has one that's this color. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what I can do, because I know what the pattern is, right? I don't even have to really pay attention to the pattern, because I mean the written pattern, because I know what I'm going to be doing. But I can pretend that I slip stitched over here if I want to, and join my yarn with a slip stitch and a chain 3, 2, 3, and then just do that same thing. So I'll put 2 double crochets, then chain 3, and then 3 double crochets, and then I would skip over here to that space. Remember that corner, that side space, we have to put 3 doubles in there. And so on. So you just start with a slip knot and chain 3. Again, I have some other ways in my video about how to do granny squares. I think I talk about changing colors. So there's some other more refined ways to do it, but that's the way you're going to see most often, is just joining with a slip stitch and following the instructions. When you finish this round, you would cut it, you would join a different color and do this. And I'm going to grab a granny square. If I can step away from the mic just a sec. Really, just a sec.
All good.
Whoa, that's kind of, whoa. Okay, hold on.
Oh, it's okay.
That's a little too close, isn't it? Let me switch cameras here. That was a little too close. Okay, so here's some granny squares done. These are literally scrap yarn grannies. I have no idea what yarn. It's all different yarns. It's just, this is where granny squares originated, right? That grannies were using up their leftover yarn. So here are 4 granny squares. Here's a big granny square. But this is all done the same way. It's just changing color every round. But I think it also helps you to see, hold it. You see where round 1 is? And then do you see that round 2, which is red, was worked in the corners of round 1? And then the purple one had a corner and a side. I'm not drawing very. So you can kind of see it almost a little bit better when you're seeing it in different colors. So grannies are great scrap yarn projects. All right, need to grab another drink. And then let's see what the questions are.
Awesome. So a few different variations of this one, and apologies if we've done this recently in a demo. Some questions around, do you slip stitch around at the end of the round over to the corner before starting to the next round? That was Brooke's question.
That's what this pattern does.
Got you.
There are some other ways to do it. And I have, Renee, when I'm talking and you have time, I forgot to share this one with you. I have like an improvement on granny squares, or a better way to do one color granny squares. That's a YouTube video that I have that people might find useful. So
perfect. I will dig that up.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot that one. Yeah.
No worries. And then, sorry, I just had one more question here.
Yeah, weaving in ends, I see, is always a question, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because it's always a question. Let me switch cameras. So some of the mistakes that people make, or mistakes, sorry, I'm having trouble switching here. A lot of crocheters make the mistake of cutting off their yarn to about here. And they leave this tiny little end, which is not sufficient to weave in, and their ends come out and they look all messy, and you are not saving money by leaving a 1-inch end. Okay, all you're doing is giving yourself an opportunity for the yarn to come undone. So when I worked that first round, I didn't mention it as I was working it, I worked over the tail. So when I had that little circle, I was working over the tail, but that's not enough. Just because I worked those stitches over the tail, that's not enough weaving in. So I'm going to take a tapestry needle, a yarn needle. Gotta reach, gotta find it. And I will thread that needle and run it under some stitches in one direction. So I'm just running it under those stitches. But then I want them to go back in the other direction too, because I do not want that yarn tail to come out. And I might even run it under these stitches too. Then I'll feel comfortable cutting it. This tail, I wasn't planning to weave in. This is about, I don't know, 4 inches that I left. That's barely enough. If I had really been planning on doing this as a project, I probably would have left 6 inches. And what I'll do here is I will work under some stitches. Let's see, in one direction, maybe work under these stitches. And then maybe work back in the other direction. And maybe work under these stitches. And I'm going to weave it in for like 2 inches or so before I'm ready to cut it off. And I want it to go in a bunch of different directions. I also have a video about that, Renee. I'm sorry, I didn't give you those links. How to weave in ends in crochet, it's called.
Got you.
So there's the wrong side of that square that I made. And I think you can see, I mean, the ends are pretty close, but I wove it in multiple directions. Because if I just work under the yarn tail, over the yarn tail, when I stretch this, imagine that I had just worked over a tail here and I stretch it like this, that tail's going to come popping out. So I want to work in multiple directions to keep it, okay? To keep it in place. Because after I do all that work, I don't want my ends to come loose. And I don't tie knots. Before anybody asks, I don't tie knots. Like never, ever, ever do I tie knots. Ever, never, ever tie knots. Ever. Okay. Because knots come undone. And if I come across a knot in my yarn that was already there, I will cut that knot out and start over and weave in the tails on either side of it, rather than work over a knot. Okay. All right. What other questions do we have? I know we have about 7 minutes left, maybe.
Sorry, I'm just going through. Oh, this is interesting. How do you keep the end from poking out, seeing the fuzzy end after you cut it?
Well, so first of all, I'm doing it on the wrong side. So there's my right side. You're not seeing the fuzzy end. The wrong side, okay, if I look really hard, there's my fuzzy end. Can you see that? Do you see that fuzzy end? I don't really see it.
A little bit.
A little bit. But first of all, this is the wrong side. So I once told somebody, let me switch cameras because this is a better story. This is better told with my face, I think. Oh, come on. So I was asked this question one time about a sweater. Like, it looks, this woman showed me and she said, it looks terrible. You can see all the ends. And I'm looking at the inside of her sweater. I'm like, I don't see the ends. I can see that you wove them in. It was many different colors. I can see that you wove them in, but you did a very tidy job. I don't know what the problem is. She said, but you can tell that they're ends. And we're talking about the inside of her sweater. And I said, look, if somebody is looking at the inside of your sweater, they better be really like, they better be an intimate friend of yours, right? Like what person is looking at the inside of your sweater? If you're taking your sweater off, they shouldn't be looking at the inside of your sweater. And first of all, and finally, that's where the yarn tails go. Like there are yarn tails, there are fuzzies. But if you weave it in on the wrong side, weave it in carefully so it doesn't come out, you can cut it pretty close and you're not going to have fuzzies. And you know what, if you do, it's on the wrong side and who cares? Take a crochet hook if they bother you and pull those ends back through. I will admit, I have an Afghan on my couch right now that has gotten a whole lot of use. And there are probably a few little ends that I need to just like put back in. So yeah, it happens.
Yeah, like if it was perfect, we wouldn't want it, right?
Right.
It's made by us, so it makes it special.
It's handmade, right? It's not machine made.
I thought this was a fun question. Can Edie share the pattern she used to make the scarf she's wearing? Looks like Granny Octagons.
Oh yeah, so this is my Granny Hexy cowl, and it is indeed, it's Granny hexes. So they have 6 sides, not 4 sides. That makes it a hexagon. But yeah, it's my Granny Hexy cowl and it's on my blog. Renee is like brilliant at that. So if you want me to, I could find it, Renee, or you
no worries.
Find it. It's Granny Hexy cowl. Thank you for asking. But y'all can do this, you know, if you know how to do a granny square, you can do a Granny Hexy next. It's the same deal, same idea.
Amazing.
Yep.
Some folks had asked about other types of granny squares, and we don't have to go into demos or anything, but just for fun, because I know you and I are big fans of granny squares. Tell us about some of the crazy things we can do with this. Someone has mentioned granny rectangles. There could be circles.
Absolutely. Right. I could have, we did a class, didn't we, somewhere on fun with grannies or something.
Yeah,
like
I think you're right.
And I know that Yarnspirations has an awesome pattern with like different size granny squares. Remember that one, Renee? I'm calling on Renee to find all these patterns. It's green. That's all I remember. But like you can take squares that are different sizes, like 3 rounds or 5 rounds or 8 rounds or something, and make them like build them like blocks and use all colors that go together. It's so much fun to just do like different color palettes and stuff, or like that crazy one that I did with all those bright colors. is literally just taking scraps of yarn that sort of go together. And if you throw enough colors together, they're going to look awesome, right? So, or color palettes, like you can do subtle, like greens and blues all together. So it's a really, really fun way to play with color and do stash busting. I have a hat that's granny stripes. So it's not squares, but it starts out like a square and turns into a hat, but it's that same idea of 3 double crochets in a space. So once you get that idea of a group of 3 double crochets and then chains or corners or whatever in between, they're just like unlimited variations on granny stripes, granny zigzags. I got granny zigzags up here on my wall. So it's a thing, right? Granny squares are back.
Yeah, and I asked you this last time, and I'll ask you again, just because it's our ritual. What do you think the staying power of the granny square is? Why do you think we keep returning to it?
Well, it does tend to go in and out of popular culture favor, right? Like now granny squares are having a moment with the TikTokers or whatever, right? But they never go away because it's so easy to figure out how to do it. So you don't have to be a slave to a written pattern. Once you learn it, you've got it. And you can take it with you. You don't have to follow that pattern. You can do all these variations. And it's so relaxing to put your hook into that space instead of into a stitch. Like if you think of having to do a ripple stitch Afghan where you're having to put your hook into a stitch every time compared to just throwing it into that chain space every time, it's just like, it's like unbuckling your belt and breathing. Like I can relax now, right?
Mallory said they don't go away because everyone always has leftover yarn.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. That's
We're
exactly
always going to have things that we need to get rid of.
Right. Right. And they're really endlessly fascinating. If I don't know what to crochet, I'll just sit down. That's actually where that pillow came from. It's just like, oh, I've got all these scraps of bright yarn. Let me make some granny. Oh, it could be a pillow. It turned into a pillow.
One of those flow state projects that you don't find out what it is until about an hour later.
Yeah, I said, oh, look, I have a pillow. Let me find a pillow form. So it's done. A project done, right? So I want to thank everybody. I hope that you will watch the video again. I know you weren't able to keep up with me stitch by stitch because that's just not possible with so many people, but you can find me here again in the recording. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and at edieekman.com. I'm Edie Ekman everywhere. I'm Edie Ekman on YouTube. I know Renee shared some links with everybody. And I hope I'll see you again soon in a Michael's class. Let's see if I can do this, Renee. If you make something that you learned today, use hashtag Make It With Michaels and Yarnspo, so we'll be sure to see it and share it.
You got it. You got it. Are you trying to take my job? I'm just kidding.
No, you can say it now too.
No, you got it perfectly. Thank you everyone so much for joining us today. I know this was a bit ambitious and it's moving a little fast, but I hope that you can come back to this recording and practice and get better over time because it's so gratifying to finally finish this project. I love granny squares. I have them all over my house. So again, thank you for joining us. Lots of links. So I hope that you bookmark and check out later. Don't forget to share your work with hashtag Make It With Michaels and hashtag Yarnspo. That's YARNSPO. And just a reminder that you can find more classes on michaels.com and the recording of today's class at michaels.com/classes. All right. Thanks everyone. Good night. Bye.
Bye.